Hey everyone, today I'm going to do a review on the BIQU Magician Delta Style 3D printer. The BIQU Magician is actually a really well built machine. It's quite sturdy. There are very few things that seem to have gone wrong for me anyway. The build surface is interesting. It's almost like a jelly feeling plastic or silicone almost. And it works as a flexible build plate, so you can print directly onto it. If your prints aren't coming off as easily as you would hope, you can peel the bed off, give it a flex and pop your print right off, lay it back down again, and then the BIQU's auto leveling system will re-level the bed and you'll be good to go for your next print. So the build surface that comes with the Magician printer, I actually ended up throwing away thinking it was just packaging material. I managed to fish it out of the bin though, which was not a fun experience, but either way, I'm now using that. And they provide you with a glue stick as well. Now when you put glue stick on this bed, every time that I've done that, I've had absolutely no issues with any sort of print adhesion to the bed. It is absolutely awesome stuff. I think it's just standard PVP glue. But when put on this, like I say, it's like a jelly sort of silicone feeling bed, the prints are just stuck there and they won't move until you prise them off with the removal tool that they provide you. So even though it's not got a heated bed, print adhesion, especially for PLA, there's absolutely no issue at all. The auto leveling that is done by the BIQU Magician is actually really interesting. It's not something that I've personally seen before. It basically uses a thin film that you stick over the nozzle using just some foam cutouts, and the printer then probes the bed in about 12 different locations to create this mesh that it can then print onto evenly. That's a really great feature. It saves a lot of hassle trying to get the bed level. I've never had to do bed leveling on a Delta style machine before. This is my first Delta printer, so the fact that it's got auto bed level has saved me so much time and it's just so much easier to work with. The thing to mention about the BIQU Magician is that the user interface is actually really simple and really easy to use. The only one thing that's a bit odd about it is that if you want to control the printer through your computer, you have to go and select the disconnect option, which essentially means you don't control it through the LCD, you just control it through your computer. This is a bit of an interesting one. Not quite sure why it's designed like that, as opposed to just having it straight plug in and you can control both from the screen and PC like you can do in, well, all my other printers. But that's not a massive deal. I run this off the SD card anyway and have no real need to plug it into USB. Some of the downsides of the BIQU Magician are that, for a start, it's a very small printer, so if you're wanting to print big things, then obviously this is not going to be adequate for your needs. However, the miniatures that I've printed out for my D&D campaigns have come out in amazing detail. I'm really happy with how this machine pumps them out. Another downside is that there's no heated bed, which means realistically you're not going to be able to print anything like ABS or PETG or anything that requires a heated bed. PLA works absolutely perfectly on it. I've had no issues on that front, however. Another thing that isn't so great when the machine arrives as stock is the spool holder. So as you can see on my machine, I've printed off this spool holder that supports much bigger spools. The spool holder that BIQU include is quite an interesting one. It basically works like a Lazy Susan, where there's a bearing in the middle and the spool will spin on a platform, sort of lie flat on top of the printer. This is good for small spools, but if you want to do anything bigger, it doesn't quite work as well. Thankfully, someone's designed this spool holder, which I found to work absolutely great, and they've released two versions of it. So obviously, having bigger printers, I've just printed this particular one, but they've also split the model up into smaller pieces so that if this is your first printer and the only printer that you own, you can then print the spool holder in small parts. Finally, one big thing that is mentioned a lot on the Amazon reviews of this particular printer is the power supply. So when my printer arrived, it came with everything I needed, power supply, it came with some sample filament and even a bed scraper. The power supply right off the bat felt very, very light and just very cheap, and it also got a lot warmer than it probably should have. However, the day after that my printer arrived, I actually received another parcel from BIQU, and it was a upgraded version of the power supply. So I would say, if you are going to purchase this printer, make sure that you get the new power supply from BIQU. I believe they're sending them out as standard now with all of the BIQU Magician printers, which is obviously a great bonus, because the last thing anyone wants is an unsafe printer in the house. So there you go, guys, there's my opinion on the BIQU Magician 3D printer. If you want to check it out, I'll leave an Amazon link down below. But yeah, I think it's a great machine. It could be slightly improved in some areas, but other than that, I would actually recommend this machine. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a thumbs up and leave any comments you might have down below. Please consider subscribing to the channel. If you do, I will hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers!